Hello and welcome to my channel, dear students. Learn with me, and today in this video I'm going to tell you about the basics of Python, that is getting started with Python, chapter 5 of class 11th computer science and unit 2. So in this chapter we are going to learn about Python character set, token, identifiers, keywords and literals. If you like this video, please do subscribe and share. Now, before we begin to learn about the basics or the bare bones of Python, let us first see what is a program. So, a program basically is an ordered set of instructions to be executed by a computer to carry out a specific task. Let's say if you wish to add two numbers, so you would have to write the instructions in a programming language. So what is this programming language? This programming language is used to specify the set of instructions in a computer. Now we write a program in a programming language, and for that we will have to understand first of all the elements that make up a program. So what elements actually make up a program? We'll start our topic with that. So before we proceed and see what makes up a program, we'll have a look at how can we start, or what interface does the Python interpreter provides us. So there are two ways to use the Python interpreter. One is the interactive mode, another is the script mode. We are going to use the interactive mode in this video as it allows execution of individual statements instantaneously. The script mode, on the other hand, will allow us to write more than one instruction in a file, which can be saved as .py with the extension .py and can be used later. So before we start writing a program, first let's have a look at the most important elements that make up a program, and these important elements are the character set, tokens, variables, keywords, literals and punctuators. So as you are aware that every language is basically made up of some or the other characters. Now this character can be a letter, a number or a special character, right? So Python programming language is also made up of a collection of valid characters. What are these characters? These characters can be letters, that is alphabets, uppercase as well as lowercase, starting from A to Z. Then it can contain digits, that is numeric values, starting from 0 to 9, any of these digits. Then special characters are also included in the character set, and the other characters, for example the tab, the blank space, the carriage return, the new line, all these make up the character set of Python. When we start writing a program, we need to keep in mind what makes up the program. What is the smallest individual unit that makes up a program. So first of all, the smallest individual unit is known as tokens, and these tokens are categorized into 5 different parts. The tokens that make up the program, either they could be keywords or identifiers, literals, operators or punctuators. In its simplest form, we can say that each program is made up of these 5 elements. Now what are keywords? Keywords in any programming language are the reserved words used for a specific purpose. So in Python also, in Python interpreter, there are a list of keywords which have a specific purpose and can be used for that defined purpose. So here is a list of these words. We will be learning about them in detail in our later sections. These keywords are further categorized into value keywords, operator keywords, control flow keywords, and so on. Next, we will understand what is meant by identifiers. Now, identifiers, we will be using variables in a program. We will be using objects, classes, and functions. So, to name these variables, we will require identifiers. So, identifiers, when we start using these identifiers, we will have to follow certain rules, and those rules can be that, first of all, any identifier can consist of long sequence of letters and digits. The first character of any identifier must be a letter or underscore, right? The digits 0 to 9 are allowed except for the first character. The first character cannot be a digit. Upper and lower case are different in Python. That means Python is case sensitive. It is not allowed to use, you cannot use a keyword as an identifier in Python. No special characters are allowed other than underscore, and space is also not allowed. So let's have a quick look at how can we name a variable, an object, class, or a function in Python. Let's take up some examples. So let's take up an example, grade pay. Now this qualifies all the rules that were mentioned in the previous slide. For example, it starts with a letter, it is not starting with a number, it doesn't have any special character, no space, so this qualifies for a valid identifier. Similarly, salary also qualifies for a valid identifier. Coming to file 09-2022. Now, as it was mentioned that the first character can be a alphabet. We can include underscore. The first character can be followed by a set of numeric digits or alphabets. So this also qualifies for a valid identifier. And underscore can also be there right in the front. This James 007 and to update also qualify for valid identifiers. And let's take up some variable names which have a specific value which does not allow it to become a valid identifier. For example, this dash over here, it is not allowed in a variable name. In this particular variable or identifier, you can see that it is starting from a digit, so this also does not qualify. The dollar sign in the front makes it invalid. Space over here, the dot, and the keyword if. These are not qualifying for valid identifiers. The reason being they have one or the other character which is not allowed. Now, whenever we start writing a program, okay, so we will have to use variables. Now, what are variables? Variables are items or elements in which we can store a value. Now these variables can store either the string value or numeric value or a combination of alphanumeric characters. Let's have a quick look at how we can use these variables in a program. For that, what we will have to do is we will have to open the IDE. So once we open the IDE, the first thing that is going to be displayed on the screen is interactive window. This is the interactive window. As you can see the prompt over here. Let's take up an example over here. Let's take up a variable and let's store a value called 10. So you can use this assignment statement, that is the equal to operator over here, to store the value. And once you type X, it will instantaneously produce the output. of the variable x. Let's take up another variable y and let me store a value called 20 in it. So if I press enter over here, you will see that the prompt is displayed. Now we have created two variables here. One is x, another is y. X stores 10, y stores 20. If I wish to see the content of any of the variables, I just need to simply type the variable name and whatever value is stored in it will be displayed. So just like we can store a numeric value over here, we can also store a string value. So let's take up a variable first underscore name and let me store my name in it. So once I press enter, you will see that this is also a valid identifier. The reason being that underscore is allowed in the identifier name. Now to check the value over here, I can simply type the variable name, first name, and I will get the output as thing. Let me store my last name over here. I can store a string value using either double quotes or single quotes as well. So I have stored my last name in a variable called last name. If I add the two values, first name plus last name, I will see that since these are two string values, when we added 10 with 20, no, suppose if we add 10 with 20, the result that we are going to get is 30. But if I add one string value with another string value, the output that I am going to get is that both the strings will get concatenated, that is joined, right? Just like I have added the two strings, let me add the two integer values and show you what will be the output once we put the value, the sum of the two values in another third variable. We will find that the sum is calculated and put in C. So this was, how we can create variables in Python. Let me create a variable called grade pay for you using an invalid symbol. Once I press this and suppose I give a value called 9000 over here and I press enter, you will see that a syntax error is being displayed over here. The reason being dash does not qualify to be included in the identifier. So these are the variables that we can use in a programming language. Now when we talk about a variable, variables are implicitly declared in a program, in this Python programming language. That means if I assign a value 345 to any variable, it automatically assumes a numeric data type. If I assign a value B or global citizen to a variable, it automatically assumes a data type string. Variables, if we use without assigning any value, it will definitely display an error. We will see further in while we are making programs how we can use the variables to make program. Before we make a program, let's first understand what are literals. Now literals are data items that have a fixed value. There are 5 different types of literals in Python. Now what are these fixed values? We used values called 10, 20, Devi, Dhanani over here, 9000. These are called as literals. So the string literals are specified in single quote or double quotes, right? The string literals are specified in single quote or double quote. So we are talking about fixed values, any data item that has a fixed value. When we talk about string literals, they are collection of characters. They are enclosed in double or single quotes as I specified. They can be either single line strings or multi-line strings. We have taken the example of single line strings so far. For example, I can show you over here also. Python is a single line string, computer is a single line string, and 999, though it is a digit, but once it is enclosed in double quotes, it becomes a single line string. So when the closing quotes and the opening quotes are in the same line, then it becomes a single line string. In contrast to it, we can specify multi-line strings. So in multi-line strings, what happens? They can be specified in two ways, using the backslash or using the triple quote. So let's have a quick look at how we can specify multi-line strings. I wish to specify an address over here, so I take up a variable called address. Now I can specify this string in two different lines by simply pressing the backslash. I will go to the next line and I will write the rest of the line over here. Once I enclose it in double quotes and I take up the name address, you will see that the entire string has been concatenated into one line. Since there was no space given over here, the string does not accept space, does not give space automatically. I can also specify the same using triple quotes. This is another way of doing it. So let me specify an address over here using triple quotes. And you will see that once the value address 1 is typed on prompt, you will get the multi-line string in displayed over here. So these are the string literals. These are the fixed values that we assign to the variables, single line and multi-line. Similarly, we can assign numeric literals. Now, how do we assign numeric literals? We have already assigned few values, integer literals, in our previous session. We can also assign octal and hexadecimal values to variables. How do we do that? Let's check up for octal first. So to specify octal, what do we need to do? We use a 0 followed by letter O, and then we can specify the octal number over here. This will be converted into the decimal representation. So the integers over here, literals, can be categorized in Python into decimal representation, octal representation, and hexadecimal as well. Just like I said, for octal you have to use the 0 followed by O and then the numeric value. In octal, in hexadecimal, what do? We use the 0 followed by X and then the hexadecimal value. As you are aware, then in hexadecimal we can use 0 to 9, and for other values we use the alphabets A, B, C, D, E, F. So if I write 0, if I write X and F, this will be converted to the decimal value 15. Now let's have a quick look using the Python interpreter. Let me take up a value number 1 and let me assign an octal octal value to it, you will see that once I type num1, the octal value 8 will be displayed. Similarly, let me take up a hexadecimal value as displayed in the slide. So 0 followed by O, and here I am typing F. So this is a hexadecimal value which I have taken assigned to num2. I'm sorry, it is num2 equals to 0, X and then F. So this will display 15 over the screen as it is converted into the decimal. So just like we have assigned octal decimal values, we can also assign floating values. For example, 17.9. Now any decimal value which is there, it can be assigned to the variables. So these are the literals that we can assign in Python. Other than these literals, we can also assign the floating point literals. We can also assign fractional form, exponent form, and the complex numbers. As you are aware, complex number consists of two parts. If we assign any value like this 1 plus 0j, for example, we have assigned to x, and if we type print x dot real, x dot imaginary, it is going to give the respective values. So we can also assign complex values to this. Another data type that we can use in Python is the Boolean. So we can assign these two values, either true or false, to the variables. Here, as you can see, there is a variable which I have taken is married. So I can assign a value true to it, and once I use the function type to check what is the data type of this particular, you will see that the data type that is displayed is bool. So bool will accept only two values, true or false. So we can assign these type of literals as well as in Python. Then there is a special literal called null. None. What is this none? None represents null over here. If you do not want to assign any value, you can use none. This will be later used in programs, and that we are going to see in our next session. So that's all in this video. Please do like, subscribe.